Imagine committing crimes so brutal and so, perfectly hidden that no human court could ever possibly touch you.
Right. You're just completely safe.
Exactly. I
Eh,
mean, you have the money, you have the connections, and you have all the power. But what happens when the universe itself decides to just bypass the justice system entirely and collect the debt?
which is a terrifying thought.
It really is.
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have something incredibly intense that we've custom tailored for you. We are looking at this gripping excerpt from Chapter 9 of a text called Robbers of Life.
Yeah, and our mission today isn't just to, summarize a fictional narrative for you.
Right, we're not just reading a book report here.
Exactly. We are here to unpack this wild, highly interconnected web of crime, revenge, and honestly, this bizarre, almost terrifying sense of natural justice.
Because while the events in this text read like an absolute thriller, I mean, underneath all the pure shock value is a really profound exploration of consequence.
We like to think of justice as orderly, right? Like you do something wrong, you get caught, a judge hands down a sentence.
Very predictable.
Yeah, it's a very human, very mathematical way of viewing the world. But this text just completely strips all of that away to show us what happens when karma operates on its own chaotic timeline.
Exactly. I mean, we were talking sudden miracles, a sprawling crime syndicate, organ trafficking, and like one of the most deeply bitter marriages I have ever read about.
Oh, that marriage is just brutal.
And an ending that borders on the mythic. I'm honestly still trying to wrap my head around it. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with an incredibly strange encounter that basically sets this entire chaotic domino effect in motion.
Right, the setup.
Yeah. So we are introduced to a man named Karanu, who he represents the absolute downtrodden in this society.
Yeah.
And there's this secretary who happens to be best friends with Karanu's estranged wife.
And the dynamic here is completely off balance right from the start. I mean, the text establishes that the secretary and Carney's wife are inseparable. Like, if you spot one, you see them both.
Right?
Right.
But in this specific scene, the secretary is meeting alone with Karanu, and she's in this bizarre, almost hypnotic state.
It's so weird.
She is talking endlessly, and he is just silently gazing at her.
Right, and then it escalates quickly. She leans in and seductively holds his hand. And Karanu's response, he doesn't reciprocate. He doesn't, like, pull away gently. He slaps her.
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
Just completely violently slaps her and throws her to the ground.
It's an incredibly abrupt reaction, but what is truly fascinating is the secretary's response to being struck. She screams, obviously, and a crowd immediately gathers. But the author describes this moment as her, quote, regaining her sanity.
Wait, I need to challenge that.
Oh,
Yeah, because how is waking up from a trance only to go home and do what she does next regaining sanity? I mean, that sounds like she was driven completely into madness, not out of it.
well, it's a great distinction to make. Because in the context of this universe, sanity doesn't really mean mental well-being.
Okay, so what does it mean then? It means sudden, crushing self-awareness. It's like a spell of delusion has just been completely broken. The text explicitly states it was as if she was waking up from a deep sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she looks at her hands, her clothes, the people staring at her, and she is utterly disoriented by her own reality. She sees herself clearly for the first time, and the weight of her hidden actions, whatever they truly are, it all just comes crashing down on her.
That makes a lot more sense.
Ah.
Because she stands up in absolute confusion and just sprints home. The text says she ran as fast as her blood ran in her arteries.
Which is such a visceral image.
It really is. And that sudden break in her reality, that horrifying self-awareness you're talking about, it leads to an incredibly grim consequence.
Yeah, it does.
She completely disappears for a month. Fast forward, and her son finally visits her locked house. He notices this foul odor, peers through the window, and he finds her body.
It is horrific.
She had hung herself from the roof, and she had been there so long, the body was completely rotten. They literally had to call in professionals just to get inside and take her down.
And this is where we really have to look at how the author uses physical decay as a metaphor. I mean, her internal spiritual rot manifests into literal physical decay.
Right.
It's a horrific tragedy, but it acts as a stark counterbalance to the mechanics of this universe. Because while one life rots away under the weight of sudden karma, the universe decides another life is owed massive, instantaneous back pay.
Which brings us to Karanu's miracle.
Exactly.
So 3 days after this horrific discovery, we transition to the village of Kandundu. The entire village wakes up to what the text literally calls a healing experience.
A huge shift in tone.
Massive. There's a bell ringing out, a sound that has never been heard in Kandundu before, and papers are circulating everywhere. And we find out that Karanu's former land is suddenly up for auction.
Right. And the history of this land is totally vital to understanding the interconnectedness here. Because Karanu didn't just lose it, casually. It was bought by a wealthy tycoon from Corinda.
Oh, right, the tycoon.
Yeah, and this tycoon used the land as collateral for a massive bank loan. But fate intervenes. The tycoon's empire just completely crumbles. He goes bankrupt after failing to service multiple loans, and so the bank seizes the land to auction it off.
Which perfectly sets the stage for Pastor Moriyama.
Yes.
He's the husband of Karanu's sister, and he gets tipped off about this auction. And he is a man on a mission. He is determined to get his brother-in-law's life back. So he goes to the auction, the bidding starts, everyone in the crowd is throwing out these, low-ball numbers.
Just trying to get a cheap deal.
Exactly. And Moriyama just swoops in and bids double the amount of the last bidder. The hammer falls, he wins it outright.
But he doesn't just win back a plot of dirt. I mean, the tycoon had developed it.
Oh, he developed it all right.
Yeah.
Moriyama wins a beautiful, completely finished maisonette with a concrete fence. It is higher class than almost any house in the entire village. Yeah. And he hands it straight over to Karanu.
Just an unbelievable turnaround.
It really is. Yeah. To me, this sudden whiplash in Karanu's life is like, like a glitch in a video game's karma meter. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like an overflow error.
Exactly. Where the system suddenly overcorrects and just dumps a lifetime of accumulated rewards into his lap in a single afternoon. He goes from living in a, quote, shoddy state to owning a mansion overnight.
What's fascinating here is how the author plays with our human concept of time versus cosmic time.
How so?
Well, the text actually uses a biblical reference here, equating it to the idea that 1,000 days is like a single day to God, and how divine thoughts differ from our own. It establishes a universe where fate turns on a dime.
Right, there's no waiting period.
Exactly. There is no slow, methodical buildup to justice. Consequences, whether they are miraculous rewards or devastating punishments, they happen instantaneously, the exact second the universe decides it's time.
And the reward for Karanu just keeps multiplying. I mean, after a long, depressing spell of rain and cold, the sun finally shines. His children, who had been abandoned by their mother to live with their grandmother while she went off to, live her own life, they suddenly return home. It's this beautiful reunion. Karanu, the man the village used to write off as completely mad, literally has a new song in his heart. He joins the church and becomes an evangelist.
Total restoration.
Yeah. But while Karanu experiences this instantaneous, almost unearned divine reward, the universe demands a much slower, agonizing toll from the corrupt elite.
Exactly. The scales swing wildly, violently in the other direction. We move from the downtrodden being elevated to the untouchable elite being completely decimated.
Right. So we shift our focus to a Tuesday morning. The day before, Monday, there's a major court hearing. And we are introduced to the true villain of the text, a man named Kiandandu.
This guy is something else.
He really is. He is confined to a wheelchair, and he's just made the decision to spill absolutely every secret he possesses. He blows the whistle on everyone and everything.
And if we are going to understand this text, we really have to look closely at his motivation here, because he isn't seeking absolution. He isn't trying to, clear his conscience before he dies.
Not at all. If you're listening to this and thinking he suddenly found his moral compass, don't. We all know someone who only apologizes when they're caught.
Right, for sure.
Well, this is so much worse. I want to push back on any idea of a noble confession here. This is pure, unadulterated petty spite.
100%.
He's doing it as revenge because his drug trafficking comrades refused to hire a good lawyer for him for that Monday court date. That is it. He is mad about his legal representation, so he decides to burn the entire city to the ground.
And the city he burns down is massive. I mean, he exposes a deeply entrenched, terrifying web of systemic corruption.
Yeah, it's not just street thugs.
No, he exposes members of parliament, prominent pastors, high-powered lawyers, and even elite doctors.
The most shocking revelation has to be Dr. Omari at the National Hospital. Kindandu reveals that this respected surgeon was actively trading in human organs.
Just horrifying.
He points out a specific case where a patient's x-ray clearly showed 2 kidneys before Dr. Omari operated and only 1 kidney after. Omari gets arrested immediately.
It's a chilling detail because it highlights how systemic corruption thrives on the illusion of respectability. Like, these aren't people hiding in dark alleys. These are the supposed pillars of the community.
Right.
And Kiandandu's confession just shatters that illusion completely.
He totally decimates the drug trafficking ring, too, naming his betrayed comrades one by one. The text actually names them: Kimani, Odiambo, Wamsi, Kizito, Baridi, and Musa. It says their lives were ended abruptly by one man they had trusted. And once he's done ruining everyone else, he freely confesses to his own personal atrocities. He admits to murdering a woman named Tabitha, and he confesses to the intricate way he killed his own first wife.
He really holds nothing back.
No. He even throws in a plea for the release of an innocent gardener who had been jailed for something Kiandandu orchestrated.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the truth in this society isn't a healing force. It doesn't bring closure. It acts as a destructive shockwave. It rips the mask off the entire community.
Yeah.
Some people are caught red-handed based on his private interrogations, while others lack the hard evidence to be convicted, but the damage is done. The safety of the elite is gone.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Kiandandu has confessed to all this evil. He is absolutely guilty, and, frankly, he's ready to die for his sins.
He wants it to be over.
He does. He feels this twisted sense of joy and relief, because he is absolutely certain the death penalty, or at least a rapid demise, is coming for him. But his physical condition prevents him from facing the justice system. Being in this wheelchair, his failing health means he can't actually be imprisoned in a normal facility.
Which is such a cruel twist of fate for him. The physical decay of his body becomes his ultimate prison. He won't serve time in a literal concrete cell. He is trapped in the suffocating cell of his own failing organs and his own inescapable guilt.
Which brings us to one of the most psychologically horrifying scenes I think I've ever come across. It is the dynamic between the crippled, dying Kiandandu and his current wife of 20 years.
It is so intense.
He is in so much physical and mental agony that he actually begs her for euthanasia. He looks at her and says, "Grant me the pleasure of death."
And her response reveals the true depth of the damage he has caused over 2 decades, because she laughs at him.
She straight up refuses. She tells him she absolutely will not commit mercy killing or murder, no matter how much she hates him. And it's not out of some moral high ground either.
No, not at all.
She is actively thrilled that he is suffering. He did all his evil in secret, but now he has ripped off his own mask in public, and she wants him to sit in the ruins of his reputation. He even tries to guilt her, asking if she isn't tired of nursing him like a baby after he's done so much evil.
And she essentially replies that the burden of nursing his failing body is nothing, like absolutely nothing, compared to the satisfaction of finally having him exactly where she wants him, helpless and awake to his own destruction.
Yes, she says she wants to pamper him and, quote, mount anger. She wants him to die feeling every ounce of the guilt and regret he caused others. She brings up the 20 years she spent married to a devil, detailing the lonely nights she spent terrified, crying alone in the dark whenever she heard a bad rumor about what he was out there doing.
Running helter-skelter in the underworld, yeah.
Exactly. And now she wants to ensure he endures those exact same sleepless, terrifying nights.
This raises an important question, I think, about the nature of vengeance within this story. Because is the wife administering a kind of poetic, necessary justice here? Or is she just perpetuating the toxic cycle of cruelty by forcing him to sit in his physical decay?
That's a great point.
I mean, she becomes an active participant in his torture.
And it's so unsettling because of how she goes about it. It's literal psychological warfare. She leaves the room at one point, and he lets out this massive cry of sheer desperation. He's trying to bang his own head against the metal side of his wheelchair to end it all, but his body's just too weak.
He can't even do that.
He can't. And then she comes back in, and she's holding a glass of warm milk.
His favorite drink.
Right. And she walks over, and she gently helps him hold his head up to drink it. It's this deeply nurturing, intimate act feeding a sick, weak person a glass of warm milk. But her dialogue is absolute ice.
It's chilling.
She mockingly looks at him and says, "Here, my husband, drink this milk that you may see tomorrow." She is forcing physical sustenance into his body for the sole purpose of prolonging his psychological agony.
Wow.
He is begging her, call it mercy killing, call it euthanasia, call it murder, or whatever, just give him peace.
Yeah.
And she coldly replies that she won't stain her hands with his blood.
She intends to keep him alive as a living monument to his own failures. She wants to dictate the exact terms and the timeline of his punishment. But as we see time and time again in this text, nature has a completely different and entirely shocking timeline. The universe doesn't wait for human permission to balance its scales.
Okay, yes. We have to talk about the ending, because it goes from this quiet, tense, psychological horror
Hmm.
to absolute cinematic absurdity and sheer terror in a matter of seconds.
It's wild.
So it's the next morning. It is a beautiful, sunny day, finally breaking that long spell of cold. It's around 11 a.m. The morning dew has completely dried up. The wife wheels Kiandandu outside so he can get some fresh air and enjoy the sun.
Right.
Then she leaves him alone in the yard and goes inside to take a bath.
And while he's sitting outside, helpless in his wheelchair, he's watching the birds. And despite everything, he's actually enjoying himself.
He really is. There's this eagle circling high up in the area, and the text notes that this eagle had circled on several occasions before, and it actually brought him a sense of peace. He loved watching it fly.
Which is ironic.
Extremely. He's sitting there, laughing and cheering at this majestic bird. But then the author drops this incredibly ominous line. That day, it was on a mission.
The cosmic agent of consequence finally arrives.
All of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, the eagle dives and lands directly on his head. And it just starts violently pecking.
It's a brutal, visceral attack that completely shatters the quiet morning.
It is horrific. He starts screaming in agony,
Hmm.
but the eagle just keeps digging in. It tears open a deep flesh wound, literally rips off a piece of his skin and hair, and then, and this is the detail, it just makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, it's tough.
It flies over to a nearby electricity pole, perches there, and starts eating his flesh right in front of him.
It is an incredibly striking, surreal image. I mean, it strips away all the modern trappings of his crimes, the MPs, the hospitals, the bank accounts, and reduces his punishment to something that feels ancient.
That's exactly it. It feels like an ancient Greek fury or, some mythological agent of karma coming down from the heavens to exact a physical, gruesome blood toll.
Yeah.
It completely bypasses the courts. It bypasses his wife's psychological torture. It's a cosmic punishment.
And the chaos that follows this attack perfectly mirrors the total unraveling of his entire life structure. The universe actively thwarts every single attempt to save him.
It's a comedy of errors, but terrifying. The wife hears the screaming from the bathroom, and she comes running out into the yard covered only in a bath towel.
Just pure panic.
Right. She sees him bleeding profusely from his head. She looks up, and she sees this eagle literally refreshing itself on the electric pole. And in this moment of sheer blinding panic, she literally drops her towel, taking it off her own naked body, just to press it against his head wound to stop the bleeding.
He's desperate.
She runs back into the house in total shame, throws on a random purple dress, grabs her car keys, and sprints back out.
But the escape route is blocked.
Exactly. She frantically wheels him to the car, lifts him into the passenger seat, and the text makes a point to note that he's lost so much weight from his illness that he is a quarter of his former size. And she turns the key. Nothing.
Of course not.
The car battery is completely dead. She has to scramble for her phone and call a local taxi.
Right.
Meanwhile, he is bleeding out in the passenger seat. The bath towel is completely saturated, like it can't hold another drop of blood.
And in his final moments, as they are racing to the hospital in the back of this random taxi, we finally get his last words. The arrogance of the untouchable elite is completely gone.
Completely. They are just these fragmented, agonizing gasps. He chokes it. Please, the gardener, Kadundu, Karanja, jail, innocent. He uses his dying breath to try and undo one tiny piece of the massive web of suffering he caused.
And then he goes quiet.
He does. He is pronounced dead the exact moment they reach the hospital doors.
Which brings us to the closing proverb of the text. It is so crucial to understanding the mechanics of everything we've just discussed today. The author ends the chapter with this exact phrase. A man eats a banana and throws the peel on the pathway and forgets, but as he starts moving, he lands on it and he falls down.
So what does this all mean? How does that specific proverb tie this whole wild ride together? Because we have gone from the tragic, rotting reality of the secretary to Karanu's unearned mansion to Kiandandu's spiteful whistleblowing, his wife's bitter cup of milk, and finally this mythic, violent execution by an eagle.
It synthesizes the entire journey beautifully. That proverb perfectly encapsulates the core theme of our deep dive.
The karma of it all.
Right. The consequences of our actions, the banana peel, they don't just vanish into the ether because we walk away or because we manage to hide them from the law. They patiently, silently wait for us on the path ahead, regardless of whether we have forgotten them or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kiandandu completely forgot the peel he dropped when he committed his murders and his organ trafficking, but fate ensured that he slipped on it in the most dramatic, unavoidable way possible.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly. But in a weird way, it's also strangely stabilizing,
Yeah.
To know that the universe keeps its own ledger.
And I want you, the listener, to really reflect on that. Think about the systems of consequence in your own life. Knowledge from stories like this isn't just about the entertainment value of a thriller or the shock value of an eagle attack.
Right.
It is a stark, urgent reminder of the deep, unavoidable interconnectedness of our actions.